Guys, thank you again for coming out here today. Let's start with the easiest, to me, most important fun stuff. Just tell me a little bit about Skylar. Your daughter, 16 years, watching her grow up. Personality-wise, what was she like?
A little nymph.
Yeah, exactly. She was energetic. She was positive. She was kind.
Very bubbly. Just
bubbly.
always.
Yeah. She had a smile that could light up a room. And package those all into one little 16-year-old girl, and you got Skylar.
Loved to tease and pick.
Yeah.
Prankster.
Yeah, she had a sense of humor, that's for sure. Ask Aunt Carol.
Carol did tell me about that, and I'm going to ask you about that right now. Her laugh, her sense of humor. Tell me a little bit about that. What was that like?
I don't know how to describe her laugh. It was more a giggle. It was like a hee, a little kid voice.
And as she was laughing at you, she'd be saying stuff and giggling at the same time. She'd be saying, "Oh yeah, but," and hey girl, she got her so many times. But she loved to pick, but it was always in a good nature. And if she was mad, you'd know it. But if she was teasing Aunt Carol or something, it was always in a pick kind of way, and she would say stuff as she was giggling. It was just so funny to watch her.
Yeah, even when she would talk to her friends on the phone, you could hear them giggling back and forth. It was just infectious. I mean, you could be clear across the house, and then you'd start giggling, not even knowing what they were laughing about.
And on the other side, if she was mad at one of them, you could hear it.
Yeah, you knew that too.
Yeah, you could definitely hear it.
Prankster. Carol told me about Sparky and some other stuff. Tell me a little bit about Skylar the prankster.
Okay, there was the Sparky.
Chicken.
Oh, I know. That wasn't a prank.
Yeah,
that was real.
Yeah, she did it on purpose.
Oh, I know. Dave is terrified of raccoons. So, one summer night, he was playing one of his video games on TV, and I got up, I don't know, get a drink, something. And when I went into the other room, David tied the storm door to the inside doorknob because he was worried about a raccoon, and he says they have hands that could open the door. So his thinking was if the raccoon opened up the storm door and opened it, it would pull the other door shut on it. So of course that was very funny to me. This big man, and he's afraid of a raccoon. Skylar and I decided, I was telling Skylar about it, so we decided we were going to get him a raccoon cap. Coon cap. We found one after a lot of searching. We got the coon cap. She was going to put it in his truck just to peek over the window so that when he went out, he would think it was a raccoon, and it would, of course, scare him. Well, nosy Dave, he snoops into everything. And it must have been around a holiday. Well, it couldn't have been. It was summer. Anyway, he snoops into everything. So he found our raccoon cap before we got to pull the joke on it. But even at that point, she was still just laughing like crazy. She thought that was the funniest thing.
The time I came home sleepy and tired, and I went to sleep, and she put fingernail polish on me, and she put lipstick on me and mascara. And I woke up to go to work the next day, and I didn't know it. And I went into work, and you look real nice, Dave. And I said, "Oh my God, what happened?" And I looked in the mirror, and I had blush, and oh, it was horrible. And I said, "Skylar!"
He's a very sound sleeper.
Yeah, she had curlers in my hair and the whole 9 yards. But that's Skylar the prankster right there, at her best.
Yeah.
Sure, Mary, I wanted to ask you something Carol mentioned to me. I just have my notes here.
Okay.
When she got mad at you, the two of them would threaten she was going to get Skylar. She was going to go live with Aunt Carol.
Oh, yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So, if Mom told her no, or she was to do something she didn't like, she would say, I'm going to go live with Aunt Carol. So Aunt Carol's response was, oh no, you're not coming to live with me, I couldn't handle you. Yeah, she threatened that, but she never went to live with Aunt Carol.
No. And she would go to, she's a smart kid. She'd go to Mom and ask Mom. If Mom said no, then she'd come to Dad. Said, Dad, can I? Well, I learned after a while, what'd your mom say? Instead of saying yes or no, I'd say, what'd your mom say? Because I was a yes, sure, baby, you can do anything you want. Yeah, well, I learned to say, what'd your mom say?
Obviously fun, obviously funny, Skylar was. And people also told me about her compassionate side.
Oh, yeah.
She'd go to sit time out with Kyle. Didn't like to kill animals. Tell me a little bit about compassionate Skylar.
Oh, she was very protective of just about anything. Always after the underdog,
Yeah.
Even at school, and of course these are stories that were told to us. We didn't witness it. But even in high school, I guess she would be walking down the hall with the two friends, and they would be pretty much bullying other people, making snide remarks, and Skylar would yell at them. Well, one incident, and I think I actually read this one in her diary, didn't I?
Yeah.
Anyway, there was a pregnant girl, a teenager.
Yeah, she told me that one.
And Sheila had made a smart remark about if the girl kept her legs together, that she wouldn't be in that situation. And she knocked the girl's books out of her hands onto the floor. Well, apparently Skylar really reamed her pretty well, and she went back and helped the girl pick up the books, and she walked to class with her, and I guess she even put her hands on her stomach to feel the baby. And that girl sent us an email. That's how we know that.
Yeah.
A message. And she was saying how Skylar was so compassionate and made her feel so good after that had happened.
That'd make you proud as parents.
Oh.
Having a daughter who acted like that.
Yes, it did make us very proud because we didn't see that side of her. When she was at school or with other people, she was just a stellar person. I mean, you couldn't ask, but we didn't see that. We would see her joking, and of course the little tantrums your child always throws. So it's really good to hear those things. You just don't know them.
Had so many people come up. A real big boy came up to us at memorial service we had and said, everybody picked on me and teased me. Skylar never ever did. Said she always came and talked to me, sit down with me. He said she was just so warm and so loving.
Yeah, they were in band together, and I guess she'd sit, and there was another little girl there too, the three of them, and they would sit and laugh and joke around, and those were the two that the others bullied, picked on. Yeah.
A lot of people, first thing when I asked about Skylar, mentioned that it wasn't you two that gained her most love. It was Lila, the dog.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about Skylar's relationship with Lila.
Oh, Lord. I don't even know how to describe it. Like most kids with their pets, she always wanted her to sleep with her. Always wanted her there. She was to the point that she would get up in little Lilu's face and want to kiss her, oh, Lilu. And Lilu would jerk away, and I kept telling her, just don't get directly in her face. Yeah, she loved her doggy.
Ever jealous?
Huh?
Ever jealous of the dog?
Was she?
No, you.
Oh,
Were
me?
you ever jealous of the attention the dog gave Skylar and Skylar gave the
No.
dog?
No.
Okay.
That dog earned it.
I'm not a pet person.
Yeah, Lily wouldn't still be there if it wasn't for me.
She just, the dog won't leave me alone.
Yeah.
And Skylar had issues with that because I don't pet her. I feed her and all that sort of stuff. But, as far as at that point, her sleeping on my bed and all that, oh no, get down, Didn't like her sitting on my lap, and she's a lap dog, that's what she does. Well, she would sit on my lap, and Skylar would want her on her lap. So, yeah.
Yeah, there might have been jealousy with Skylar, but there wasn't any with us.
Yeah.
Anything Skylar shared with you guys about her future plans or hopes of what she wanted? She was a sophomore at UHS, so that had to be an important thought in her mind.
What? She said,
Lawyer.
yeah, she wanted to be a criminal lawyer. And she would constantly, do you think I'd make a good lawyer, Mom? And of course, Dave and I, or she'd say Dad, whichever. And we'd say, the way you argue, oh, you'd be an excellent doctor or lawyer. And she did every time you would tell her no. She would argue, but why? But why? And you'd give a reason. Well, that doesn't make sense, but why? And even if you broke it down, it was still a, but why?
Tell me why. And when she got mad, it was tell me why.
Yeah, and you couldn't get away with, because I'm the parent and I said so. No, you had better have a reason why.
If you didn't, then...
Yeah. And she wanted to be the lawyer.
Yeah,
She wanted-
first thing she wanted to be a checkout clerk at Walmart. Remember when she was
Yeah,
really
but that
little?
was grade school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She thought that was really cool, scanning stuff and getting the beeps.
But she was going to be married. Oh, Lord, can I get the age right? She was going to be, I think she said by 25. This stuff was all supposed to be accomplished. I might be wrong on the age. But she wanted to be the lawyer. She was going to be married. She was going to have 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. She was going to live in this big fancy house. I said, well, with these kids and that kind of profession, how are you going to keep the house clean? You going to hire a maid? Well, no, Mom. You're going to move in and clean the house and cook for me because you're a good, she always said a good cooker. I was a good cooker, so I was going to cook and clean for her. It's like, okay. Yeah, she had big plans.
What goes through your mind when you think 5 years ago everything we've just talked about was taken away?
What did we think? 5 years ago, I probably didn't think about that. Yeah, that's not, I don't know how
4
to,
years ago, we probably thought of it. But
well, yeah.
Sure, what do you think today when you think those things were taken from you guys 5 years ago?
Well,
I'm not so mad for me. I mean, I miss her, but she could have accomplished so much. She had such a good hold on life, it seemed. I mean, she knew what she wanted. And there's not many 16-year-olds or 15-year-olds, for that matter, that know that.
Didn't even care at that age.
Yeah.
That's not something they really think about.
But she had everything, her ducks in a row, so to speak. I mean, she was really a very intelligent girl. She never studied, ever. And if she did, it was just real quick, skimming a book, and then she aced every test she ever took, so she didn't need to study. She was just that smart. She gets that from her side. And when she did take a test, or when she, if she got a B on it, oh, that wasn't good enough, she will get an A in that class. And she did. Every time she brought it up. I think she got 1 B that time, remember, in English.
Yeah, she had to bring it up.
Yeah.
She did.
And we didn't make her. I mean, we said, honey, a B is good. It wasn't good enough for her. And she did make the principal's honor roll, just, every year? Yeah.
Yeah.
Every year.
Okay, as I said, let's just walk through some of the timeline stuff. Less fun than some of the other stuff we're going to talk about, but we do have to talk about it. July 7th, you guys discovered she was in her room. What do you remember about that initial, either find or that initial day?
Well, that probably,
It's the most helpless feeling in the world. It really is. I mean, everything that you cherish in the world is gone, and you have no clue where to look for it. And it's a helpless feeling. It's a horrible, helpless feeling.
And I was actually at work, so I didn't, I mean, I truly, in the beginning, I really thought she was out with some friends somewhere. So it really didn't hit me at that point until I got home, and then Sheila called and says, I have to tell you something. I have to tell you the truth. And now that's when it hit. That's when panic struck. Because I was sure, you know, if they had actually dropped her down, and I believed it. I believe they dropped her down the street.
We had no reason not to believe it.
So I was positive somebody had abducted her. I could have, well, I did. I swore to everybody that's what happened. We were ready to drag them on the river and everything. And then I remembered the camera.
Dave mentioned helpless, but I remember you were thinking she was abducted. That had to be pretty helpless as well, thinking somebody had taken her unknown where, unknown person.
Yeah, I guess helpless would be a good word. I was pretty pissed. I was going to find out who it was and get her back. Anger. A lot of anger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. We did a story a few days later, trying to help out and see if anybody knew where Skylar was. I'll direct this to both of you, but Dave ended that story pleading, just come home, baby. I made note of that. When you think back and those being kind of the first words, at least the community got to hear about your missing daughter and what you guys wanted, what do you think about?
A lot of tears.
I wish that's what it was. She had just run away and did come back. Yeah. I don't have to answer that.
Doing fine, guys. Obviously, she didn't come back.
Right.
A week, 2 weeks, 3, 4 months. What do you remember just about not knowing or not knowing exactly where your daughter was months after she went missing?
That was pure hell.
It's kind of hell I wouldn't wish my worst enemy to go through. It's so helpless, so questions. I mean, why don't you come home? Why aren't you coming home? We knew one thing for sure. She was being either held against her will or she was gone, because she would have come home. I mean, she had no reason to ever run away. She was happy. She was a very happy child. And we knew she wouldn't stay away on purpose. And Mary looked at me one day and said, Dave, what if she doesn't come home? And I chewed her out royally. I said, don't you ever say that again. I said, she's coming back. Oh, she said she felt it. And I kind of did too, but we wouldn't admit it to each other. And Lilu, poor Lilu, laid there at the front door, didn't she? And whined and cried.
And as much as I love animals, Lilu started sleeping in my bed at night. She's, well, now
and
she
that was a
doesn't.
breaking point of Lilu.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's after she started sleeping in Mary's room, she quit laying in front of Skylar's door, but that was heartbreaking to see that dog laying there and whining. And as much as it was for us, we knew the animal was missing Skylar too, and we just wanted her back. It didn't matter, we just wanted her back. We wasn't gonna punish her, we wasn't gonna yell at her, we wasn't gonna do anything. We just wanted her home.
We worried more about how her friends, mostly her friend, how they were going to get along, because, I mean, the top evil too, they were just so devastated, and, you know, we're trying to figure out how can we help them through the, good Lord.
Played us for fools, didn't they?
Yeah, we should have been more worried about ourselves.
5 years later, it's gonna make you a little bit angry.
Oh.
Looking back at that relationship afterwards with those two.
A little bit angry? That's,
I
yeah,
told
I
you.
didn't even touch it.
I even told him I loved him, and we did. We love that girl like a daughter, especially the first one. starts with an S. She didn't even knock on our door when she came over. She was like our kid. You know, she was there, or Skylar was at her house, or she was there. And it was never, you know, you'd see one with the other, and they never split up. And I remember so many times Tara would pick her up, her mother would pick her up, and she'd look at Mary and say, "We have our hands full with these two."
And I had no clue.
No,
I'd just laugh and say, yeah, we probably will.
but she knew.
One of those two girls did eventually confess. That was the official big break in the case that
Right.
led to the discovery of your daughter. When you got word that somebody had confessed to killing Skylar, what do you remember about that time period?
Disbelief.
When we first got word, we weren't allowed to even let on that we knew. So yeah, it was kind of a,
We even talked about it.
yeah, and it was kind of a, we knew, but do we believe it? Yeah, it was a yo-yo. And we knew the way we heard it was very reliable,
Yeah.
but we still didn't want to believe it, you know, even though we knew.
The person that told us it was Skylar's birthday party, wasn't it?
Yep.
The person that told us told me it's Skylar's birthday party, and he said, "I'm a father, you're a father, you gotta know." So he told me.
What do you remember about learning that Skylar had been found, her remains were found?
I was off work that day. I was getting a prescription filled at Walmart, and Mary was working that day. And I got a call from the FBI lady, Tess Cooper. And Tess said, Tess was always so nice and so caring, and she said, "Go to Mary's work, pick her up, go to your house, and we'll meet you there." And I said, she was always, "Please, would you?" I mean, it wasn't a would you please, it was just do it. I remember picking Mary up at work, and we didn't say a word.
Yeah, we knew.
We didn't say a word to each other the whole way home. We knew what was coming.
But you know, even then, you know, they had to do the testing and Quantico and all that, so you're still
And they
open.
wouldn't tell us how they knew it or anything like that. They wouldn't tell us Rachel confessed or anything like that. The only thing she said was, through investigation, we think we found Skylar. They wouldn't say for sure, they wouldn't say where, they wouldn't say anything other than they think they found Skylar.
That had to be frustrating as you look back, and only being told, maybe not the specifics of an investigation, but have these details come out.
First thing
and
I
not being
asked
able to-
is she gone? And she said, yeah.
well. That's kind of a twofold question, because again, we had information that we were pretty sure they were going to find her. You know, we'd been told that. But, you know, like I said, again, you still hold out hope. You know, even though you know it's useless, you still hold out hope. Yeah.
Dave and I talked about it at the site, but I'm going to ask him again, and I'll ask you, Mary. Through our criminal process, through everything, there's no great motive other than we didn't want to be friends anymore. What are your thoughts about that idea is what led them to murder your daughter?
I think it's crap. There's something. I mean, I know they're mentally ill. You have to be to do something like that. But even at that, there's still got to be some reason. You know, even mentally ill people, if they don't like someone, they kind of stay away from them. I don't buy that for a minute.
They were jealous.
I think that's a lot of it. Yeah.
When you look back now, what do you think, or what would you say to those girls who knew what they did? but still grieved with you and returned to a normal life.
I think how two-faced you can be and how sick in the head you can be to walk up to grieving parents who are crying their eyes out and hug them and tell them it'll be okay.
And in my mind, my opinion, again, that shows the depth of their mental illness. You know, they were trying so hard to cover it up, and they did a good job. They really did. Well, at least for us.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of other people says, "Oh, I knew it all along," but yeah, everybody says everything in hindsight after the fact. So, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, to us, they did an excellent job of covering up.
I should have asked, when Skylar was ID'd, you knew two people were facing criminal charges. You couldn't say much, but you kind of reached a big milestone. You knew where your daughter was. You knew what had happened to her. Was there any relief's probably not the right word, but any relief knowing what had happened to your daughter and that she had been found, ending that chapter
I think
of
it's
this
even
saga?
more questions then, wasn't it? I mean,
More questions, but feeling-wise, the hunt was over.
yeah.
The dread of how long is this going to drag on, that was over.
Yeah, Quantico took like 3 months to ID, you know, and then they sent it back to sent her back to Greene County, and Greene County wouldn't release her because he might want to do his own test. And, you know, we fought with them. We're going to protest and march and do everything to get Skylar back. And finally, if we agreed to cancel the protest, they would have got Skylar back quicker. So Marcia called me and told me, hey, if you don't do this, you know, and we had a gang of people that were going up there too, so they knew we meant business. So it wasn't, 4 days later we had Skylar back, something like that.
Yeah, it was quicker than we thought.
Yeah.
Obviously, finding Skylar ended one chapter of not knowing, but it started another, the criminal justice process that you both had to be part of. For one of the killers, she remained a juvenile. And I know they sat in some of those hearings, but couldn't share anything. How difficult was that, not being able to share with friends, with family, somebody might be getting justice for what they did?
The friends and family that was closest to us at the time knew. And the people that were on the outside looking in really didn't need to know. I mean, it was one of those kind of things where this is going to be handled the way it's going to be handled, and there's nothing we can do to change it. And it's same as the sentencing. It's going to be sentenced to what they're going to get, and that's going to be what they get, and there's no way we can change it.
And even today, you know, we'll get comments about their sentencings and that sort of thing, and they think it's horrible. But if they're on the other side, if they, you know, like we as parents, we just wanted her remains back, you know? And if it took a plea bargain to do that, so be it.
Yeah. A plea bargain is what, 10 years?
And that
I mean,
don't you know?
Yeah, it doesn't even mean she's going to get
No.
out then, so. It's going to be a long walk for those girls to get out of anything because of, number one, what they did, number two, the way they've handled themselves during the whole thing. It wasn't good.
I was going to ask you about those kind of big hearings, the ones I sat in on, public was very interested in, the pleas and sentencing hearings that were public. What do you just remember about the emotion or being in those rooms as parents and going through that process?
I was drugged up and numb, I can't tell you. I don't know.
Yeah, we had taken something.
I truthfully can't even tell you what they said. I was just there.
I remember looking at Sheila, and she looked over at me and was smiling.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And I told
Well, that
Gary
pissed the
White at the
world
time,
off.
I said, Gary,
Newspaper got that.
yeah, newspaper got the
Yeah.
smile. And I told Gary, I got up and left the courtroom. I said, Gary, she's trying to piss me off. He said, don't let her. He said, Claudius will throw you out of here in a minute. I said, I want to go after her right now. And he said, if you do, you'll not be allowed back in. That's what kept me half sane. But yeah, she looked right at us and smiled, and I thought, you little witch. How can you sit there and smile? You killed your best friend and you think it's funny? You think this whole thing's funny? She does. She thinks it's a big game. That's how sick she is.
A joke.
One thing that did happen at those hearings, I know you said it was a blur, you don't remember much, but Rachel did apologize to you guys.
Oh, that I remember.
Yeah. Dave, the media wrangle, asked you about that afterwards. Mary, don't believe you said much, but I'll ask you guys now, what did you think about her apologizing?
Waste of my time.
Her lawyer told her to do it.
Yeah. I think the lawyer wrote it and she just read it.
Yeah, and it's not heartfelt. She's not sorry what she did, or she wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Sure, the sentencings, we finished those. Was there any finality knowing that two girls were now in jail for at least 10 years each?
No.
Because it's still, why? And it's also, look how many lives are ruined. I mean, I know their parents didn't wake up one morning and say, I want my girl to be a killer. Yeah, there's no way a parent could ever be prepared for something like that. And, you know, Mary made one public thing, and she said, I do not hold the parents liable or responsible or anything for this. Based on the knowledge we had then, okay? The knowledge we have now is a little different. So, you know, I have a lot of different ideas than Mary does about the way the parents should have, you know, done things. The Soaps did send us an apology, you know, but the Clendenin did not. So, send us a necklace back 4.5 years later.
Yeah.
That's it for the timeline aspect. Obviously, 6 days from today is our 5-year anniversary. I'm going to just ask you about a couple of things here. The site, Dave and I talked about it. Mary, unfortunately, couldn't make it out there. Why is it important to keep that site as a memorial today?
Well, the memorial in the beginning, I just wanted a simple little bench so I could sit out there. I made the mistake of posting that on Facebook. Well, you saw it, what it's become. And you can't take that away from people.
They wanted to do it.
If they care that much about her, how can we say no? We can't. I can't, and I know Dave can't either.
She's been called Morgantown's princess, Morgantown's sweetheart, everything
Yes.
in the world. And people feel that way about her. I don't want to tell them no. I mean, because they feel like they're doing something special. And they are, you know. And
Yeah. And like I said, the original idea was to be our sanctuary. So it's strayed away from the original plan or idea, but you know, it's all good. Everyone that goes out there says, you know, they feel that presence, that peace, that calm out there. And you just can't take that away from them. Yeah.
it's a place for everybody to go, you
Yeah.
know.
It is.
You know, that girl that so many people have written to me, including that girl that had the purple folder, that said that when they're there, they just feel so good. So, you know, you can't take that away.
No.
It's not ours, you know, it doesn't belong to us. Skylar belonged to us, but she really didn't belong to us. She's her own person,
Yeah.
so she's, you know, it's just put there because Skylar was a really special girl, and people go out there to honor her, you know.
Just want to talk about Skylar's Law for a minute. That's one thing that came from your daughter's death. Can either of you just explain what Skylar's Law is first?
I already did. It's your turn. It just makes it easier to call an Amber Alert. It's just,
Yeah, supposedly, I can never remember the logistics of it, but supposedly the way it was before, you had to How was it?
You
I
had
don't
to
even.
meet
You
a
had,
certain criteria to even call an Amber
well,
Alert.
that's the way it is now,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But the way it was before, they had to wait, what, so many hours?
48 hours, I
Yeah.
think, something crazy, yeah. Unless somebody actually witnessed it and saw it before they could call an Amber Alert. And I'll have to look the law up because I need to know it. And now it just makes it so a state cop or somebody of equal high law enforcement can go in, look around and say, this isn't right, something's wrong, and they can call an Amber Alert. Before it took so much, you know.
And in Skylar's case, you know, we had nothing was missing that a young girl who ran away would take with them. Her cell phone charger, you know, her makeup, curling iron, her brushes, her toothbrush.
No clothes.
Everything was there. That doesn't make you think they ran away. You know, they would take some kind of personal possessions. In her case, she probably would have took Lilu, you know? And she was still there. But yet, the police said, oh, she's a runaway. She has to be gone, whatever that amount of hours was. And they wouldn't even consider that something else might have happened. Yeah. In Skylar's case, in the end, it wouldn't have mattered. But what if it was a different scenario that she had been abducted? Those are precious hours gone.
Absolutely.
So that's, you know, we felt that was just too much.
We knew it needed changed, and
Yeah.
it was, the criteria was too hard to meet in some areas, and we thought, well, you know, Becky and who else was it?
Chuck Yoga.
Chuck Yoakum and Tom Bloom, all of them got together and started, you know, brainstorming and came up with what's known now as Skylar's Law.
Does it bring any comfort knowing that this law is out there now to try to help parents avoid what you guys were feeling?
It does me.
It does me also.
Which a lot of people don't understand the fact that there is criteria with the new law. You know, they think just because someone's missing, why is there not an Amber Alert? Well, you know, one of the stipulations is if it's a repeat, they run away every week, every other week, you know, it has to be certain criteria for the state police to decide, yes, this warrants an Amber Alert. Which I can understand because, as they said, every time Johnny's home, you know, late coming home to dinner, they can't issue an Amber Alert. You know, they issue the Amber Alert, and here comes Johnny walking through the door.
And we'll get people all the time from Ohio and PA and everywhere else say, why wasn't Skylar's Law used in this? It's not there. It's only in West Virginia. So.
Yeah.
Dave's mentioned it a couple times, people calling from all over. God knows I've seen your Facebook page and everything. What are your thoughts about just the attention, in this case, your daughter's case?
We wonder why.
Got around the world.
It floors me. You know, the first time I've got a message on Facebook from, I don't even remember who it was first. I think Canada was the very first one. I was like, Canada? You know, and then I got a message, I got one from Russia.
Yeah, England.
Who would think Russia?
England's really hot.
Yeah.
They got, even Chat Magazine, which is in England, did a big story on Skylar.
Yeah.
And they thought this was just, you know, and I've got so many friends that are friends now that said, you know, we saw this and we're just horrified by it. And I said, don't you guys have crime in England? And they said, yeah, but nothing like this. I mean, it's just horrible. And I've got a lot of friends, you know, people I would have not otherwise met, but I wish I'd never met them, you know what I mean?
Well, it makes you wonder how they heard. Because a lot of that, actually, we had gotten far away, you know, Australia, as he said, the UK, all that, even before Dr. Phil. Now, with Dr. Phil doing, the documentary and airing it, it's really snowballed.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a country we don't have a contact
I think every
with.
one of them, yeah. I think maybe Japan.
Oh, we got it.
We got
Okinawa.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And we couldn't think of a country we didn't have. And that's Denmark. It floors me that the people, I got a lady the other day that my friend had to read what it was in Spanish because it didn't, she would have made a big long message in Spanish and my friend had to read it and tell me what it said because I had no idea what it was. That's how big this is. It went so many different places.
And you wonder why, how, children go missing and they're found murdered all the time. What makes this so special? We still don't know.
We still don't know, yeah. It may be the way people feel about Skylar. Look at that innocent face and think, God, how could somebody do that?
That's a lot of the response we've gotten.
Yeah,
Is
we ask people.
The innocence of her face. And they say it just captivates them. It's mind-boggling. It really is.
This is a very big question, but I'm just going to leave it open-ended. When you think of everything you guys have been through for the last 5 years, everything that's happened.
That's one funny thing about it. We didn't have a choice. We were handed this and we had to do the best we could with it. People tell us all the time, you're so strong. No, we're not. You don't see what happens behind closed doors. You don't see us crying 24/7. We were dealt a hand we didn't want to play, but we had no choice.
People say, oh, I couldn't go on if that was my child. And I don't know if they think that statement is comforting to us, but it kind of makes us feel like we didn't care enough, which they can't. 5 years ago before this happened, I might have said, oh, I couldn't deal with that either. You don't know what you can deal with when it happens. Yeah, like Dave said, we didn't have a choice. And yeah, you will go on. You think you won't, and you don't want to, but you do.
And there's a lot of mornings I just said I give up. I don't even want to go any further. And something makes you get up.
You just do. You got to.
People always tell you, Skylar would want you to, Skylar would want you to. Well, I don't think you could quit even if you wanted to. Now that the Skylar's Promise is out and, we talk about it and we talk about, make wise decisions when you choose your friends. We can't just stop now. There's so many lives that haven't been saved yet,
If you guys had the chance today, what would you tell Skylar?
Kind of funny because Mary said when her picture went up on the billboard there by Walmart, Mary said, if she's out there, she'll come on this one, she said, and she'll look at us and say, get it down and get it down now. She would not have been happy about it. She was not a show-off. He didn't like her picture out. She wouldn't. She would like the people she's helped, but she wouldn't like the attention.
Yeah. But what would we say to Skylar?
Yeah, what would you say to her if you had that opportunity?
Well, first of all, I'd tell her that I loved her, which she knows that anyway, but I'd still have to say it. And I just tell her she have no idea the impact she has. And I'm going to say the world, because it is the world over. I don't know where she got that magnetism from. I don't even know. She has to be working behind the scenes, for this to be this big everywhere. Like I said, this happens. It does happen. People think it doesn't happen it does. It just doesn't get the recognition that she did. And I think that's, I'd have to tell her, good job. She wants the story told. I truly believe that.
Or it wouldn't have went this far.
Yeah.